Hello, guys. This is another episode of Penny for My Thoughts. I don't have tea today, I have iced coffee. Kind of dark outside, so the video is going to be a little dark. It's not a whole lot of sunshine today. But my penny for my thoughts today is dealing with negativity and negative people and how hard it can be and how it can affect you and affects your mind even when you try not to have it, but it do. I have a quote that I wrote that says negativity is like a magazine subscription. You can either subscribe or not. But I feel like sometimes you, even when you don't want to subscribe to it, it still kind of affects you. Like in your mind, you don't want it to affect you, but it can affect your mood or just subconsciously. You don't know it affects you, but it kind of does. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard when the negative people are people you live with or people you have to work with or people that's going to be around you every day. Now, if you're dealing with a negative person that you don't see all the time, I mean, it's easy to just write them off, and you don't have to see them, you don't have to deal with them, you don't have to answer your phone calls. But when you're in the vicinity of this person, you have to be in the vicinity of this person or people, then sometimes it's hard. It's hard when they speak negative or they have a negative attitude or they talk negative all the time excessively. And it's hard on you, even though you try not to allow it to be hard on you, even though you try not to let it affect your psyche. Sometimes it does. And I feel like that's just being human. Like, sometimes you beat yourself up and like, oh, I shouldn't let them affect me. But sometimes it's hard not to let them affect you. Misery loves company, negativity loves company. It's like going outside and it's very cold. In your mind you can say, okay, well, I'm not going to let the coldness affect me, but your body is shivering. So it's affecting you. And if you already have issues of your own, like, mental issues of your own or anxieties or like, being sensitive to those. Some people are sensitive to bad vibes, sensitive to negativity, and they just can't deal with it. Like if you already have those type of things, sometimes it is hard to deal with. It really is. So sometimes it really is hard to deal with. And though you can't change those people, you can't change that person, it sometimes it's hard for you to change your psyche. Like, I'm not going to let them do, I'm not going to, let how they're acting affect me. And sometimes I feel like that's easy and sometimes it's not. You know, you could live with the person, you could have to work with the person or people. It doesn't just have to be a person or people every day. And so, what do you do in that case? What do you do when it's so much affected in your psyche? Like to the point where, even if this person or people isn't being negative that day, you're just so used to it. You're so programmed to feel like they're going to act negative or say something negative or have a negative attitude that even on days that they don't, you're just automatically on guard. You're just automatically feeling like, okay, are they gonna have attitude today? Are they gonna say something about this? Are they gonna say something about that? What do you do, when you have those instances? And it's easy to say, just don't let it bother you. Just don't let it. But sometimes I feel like, as human beings, it bothers us. And And then there's the case of saying, okay, stay away from this person, stay away from that person. But what if you can't stay away from them? What if you have to deal with them? What if you have to be in their vicinity? What if you have to work with them? If you have to live with them, you have to, be around them. What if that's the case? And I don't know if I really have, answers for that, because to me, one size doesn't fit all. As I say, people say, just don't let it bother you. But that, I feel like, doesn't fit all things. So then what do you do? And, you know, you can pray about it as much as you can. That is, me personally, I use both of those things. I, pray about it as much as I can. If I have to deal with a situation like that, or put it out of my mind as much as I can, but sometimes you can't. And if you're a person that, you have anxiety, and you already have intrusive thoughts, and or if you're one of those people that, you're a big onion and it's hard for you to forgive people immediately, or you got to forgive them in sections, those things could affect you too. And it's like, sometimes I feel like in society, it's is looked upon as, just forget about it, just put it out of your mind. But sometimes that's not easy for a lot of people. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And I feel like, it's easier said than done sometimes. I feel like sometimes, people forget that you're human too. And they may say, forgive whatever the issue is, or forgive whatever the negativity that is being brought. And you can, but I feel like, you can't act like it doesn't affect you, because it does. It may not affect you the one day of, the whoever the person or people being negative around you, but then the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm just so tired of this. It's just driving me nuts. Like, it's driving me crazy. Sometimes you want to lash out. Then you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Or you're in of, you know, just the environment, and you just like, I want to just be positive, but the people around me are negative, or the person around me are negative. And it's like, sometimes it weighs down on you. It really does. And I feel like it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed to admit, like, hey, I'm human, this is affecting me today. This negativity is affecting me today. Yesterday it may not have affected me, last week it may not have affected me, but today it's affected me. And I feel like, as a human, you got to give yourself a break of saying, hey, this has affected me. Like, I don't even feel like somebody should look down on a person, be like, well, why do you let it affect you? And why are you letting what they say affect you? And why are you letting what they do affect you? Because you're human. And a lot of times you can get over it, but sometimes you can't. And I really believe, you know, and I wrote another quote that sometime, like, certain things you forgive in sections, or it's just like skin, like forgiving things in layers. And sometimes it is hard. And if we want to speak at a religious standpoint, well, I won't even say religious, because you know it, faith in God and everything can go it through any. You don't even have to be super religious to have faith. You don't have to be super religious to forgive. You don't have to be super religious to believe in God. You don't. Not super religious, you don't. So, but I feel like when it comes to that standpoint of, people will make people feel bad. Well, God says forgive. Yes, but you do have to acknowledge the fact that it's affecting you. You have to acknowledge the fact that the negativity is affecting you from, the people or the person. You got to acknowledge that it's affecting you, because if you act robotic and act like it's not affecting you, then what do you do with those feelings? Swallow them, and then they, eat you up inside sometimes, you know, um, or just, forget about it and it still affects you. I feel like, and when they say two things can be right at once, I believe that. I believe that, you can say, hey, I'm going to not let this person affect me. I'm not going to let these words affect me. I'm not going to let these people affect me. But still, it may not affect me today, but it'll affect me tomorrow or affect me the next day. I'm not going to let it affect me, but it still affect me. I don't have to let it, but it's still there. I can choose whether I can subscribe to it or not, but it's still there. These people or this person or whatever, brings a type of dread, brings a type of negativity, a type of toxicity. And yes, I can subscribe to it or not, but I'm not going to act like it's not in the room. No, I don't have to let it beat me up, but I'm not going to act like it's not in the room either. And sometimes I feel like, even the acknowledgement sometimes can help heal you too. Like, okay, I know that this situation, this elephant is in the room. It's there. I can't keep acting like it's not. I can't keep acting like, what is being said is not affecting me. Yes, sticks and stones, yes. You know, you could say sticks and stones, words don't hurt you, but sometimes it do. And I don't feel like it's a problem in just being a human and saying I'm human, saying I'm hurt by this, saying that, I had a positive day today and every time this person come around or these people come around or when they open their mouth and they say negative things, I can't, act like it doesn't affect me some little way. Or maybe it doesn't affect me all day, but it affected me that 5 minutes that they came into the room, or that 5 or 10 minutes that they were saying things, and I got over it. But I can't negate the fact that it somehow affects me. You can dust it off your shoulder, but it's still landing on your shoulder. You can dust the negativity off your shoulder, but it's still landed there. I don't feel like it's just a bad thing to just be human and say, hey, like, this is affecting me some type of way. I don't have to let it, but it's there, you know, and it's hard being around negative thoughts and negative things and, people or a person that complains all the time or, just the unhappiness and things like that. And they say, love yourself. Be happy within yourself. No one can make you happy. You have to be happy within yourself. You look to God for your happiness. Yes, you do. But I also feel like you can't negate the fact that, the person or people is just sprinkling unhappiness in your vicinity. No, you don't have to let the cloud drench you and get wet, but you still been sprinkled a little bit. So I feel like, it's a good thing to be realistic. Yes, you don't have to let it affect you, but you can't negate that the feeling is there. You can't not acknowledge the feeling or let people make you feel like, you know, that it's not there. Or because everybody is entitled to their feelings, whether it's valid or not, whether, you know, they make you feel like it's valid. Maybe somebody else may not feel your feelings is valid, but something is making you feel this way. Like something. Whether it's, the person or the people that's doing it, and maybe they're not conscious of what they're doing it, they're making you feel some type of way. And I don't feel like, we should feel bad about being human. They say, and I'm gonna speak from a, religious point of, and I say religious because usually this is where you hear these things, but I feel like God wants you to be human. God wants you to be honest about your feelings. I feel like God wants you to not be robotic, and just act like it doesn't exist, because it's like, how are you going to solve the feeling if you act like it's not there? Like usually when people go to therapy or stuff like that, it's like, yes, you can block it out of your mind, but it's still there, in your heart, in your psyche. I mean, there's people that they go to work and they don't even like dealing with some of the people that they're at work because they're like, it's toxic, it's a toxic situation and stuff like that. And yes, they block it out of their mind, but it's still there, you know? And until, maybe, so for some people, they feel like unless I say something about it or nip it in the bud, or even sometimes the people or person don't even know that they're making you feel that way, or that they're so, you know, toxic in that form, or they're talking negative or things like that, because we're human. Like when we're unhappy, sometimes we complain, or we're unhappy about something, or just life period, sometimes we complain about it. I mean, we complain about gas and money and everything else, or the economy is a big complaint, or whichever, and we complain about it. But now sometimes, some people are chronic complainers, chronically seeing the negativity in everything, or chronically seeing the negativity in situations or other people or whichever. And sometimes this is just them. It's not even like a mental issue, because there's people, that have like depression and things like that, and that's a whole different thing. That's not something that's somebody's fault, but you know, there are people sometimes that they don't even know that they're eluding negative energy and negative vibes. And sometimes you got to tell them, like, I feel like your negativity is affecting me. And there are some that they won't take that. Well, I'm not, they won't admit to it, because a lot of times they're in denial. But I feel like that you have the right to say and express your feelings and say, hey, this is affecting me. And whether they be in denial about it or not, or whether they acknowledge your feelings or not, at least you said it. At least you got it off your chest. At least you got it off your heart. To put it in the air. And I feel like that's a part of healing too. You said it. You said, hey, this is affecting me. I can't continue to swallow it. I can't continue to, ignore it. I can't continue to just let it bother me and act like it don't exist. I can't. I can block it out of my mind. I forgive you. Yes, I do. But it causes a problem. The environment causes a problem. The issues causes a problem. Some people, every time they open their mouth, sometimes you feel like it's gonna something negative or dreary is gonna come out of them, and it puts you on guard sometimes, to where you don't know. Even when they're happy, you're like, oh, is this gonna last long? They're not negative for that day or toxic that day. You just on guard at all times because you don't know when they are. Then you have to think to yourself, well, then you feel bad to yourself, and you're like, well, they weren't that bad today. Why did I think that? But it's you're on guard, because what you're used to from them is negativity and dreariness and complaints. And it gets hard. And sometimes you don't know what to do. And, you know, when it comes to people you love or stuff like that, like, okay, people at work, or, whichever, you don't have to see them every day. I mean, well, yeah, you do have to see people at work every day, but, you can go to your own area, cubicle, or whichever. And sometimes that's not the case. But, when it comes to like people you love, or like family members or stuff like that, and they are like that, sometimes you don't want to be around them. Some you don't have to be around, and some you do. Some you live with, you know, and sometimes you feel alone, and you're just like, I'm in the tornado of this person's unhappiness, in the tornado of this person's complaint, and I'm in the tornado of this person's circles of, one minute, you never know if they're gonna be unhappy about something, or they change something from one unhappiness to another. And then they use one thing that they're unhappy about and make it seem like they're unhappy about everything. And, you know, you being, if you're one of those people that, try to push positivity and, even get through your own stuff, sometimes that's hard. When you have some of your own stuff to deal with, sometimes, when you have some of your own, like when I say like things like anxiety and your own intrusive thoughts and stuff like that, and you have to deal with that, sometimes that weighs on you. And I feel like you should be able to be a human being and say, hey, this affects me. Like, I really don't think, or pray about it and be like, God, this is affecting me. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't, because I feel like it's being human. And if you're going to start with healing somewhere, I feel like you should start with acknowledging the feeling, acknowledge it with yourself and acknowledge it with that person. And whether you get positive feedback from them or not, at least you put it out there. At least you said it. At least you said it. Like, these are things, and sometimes you just don't know what people are going through. Sometimes, you don't know what is inside of them that makes them so unhappy. And then, you don't even know, it's like, are they unhappy, or are they just addicted to complaining, or they're just addicted to seeming unhappy? But that's not even, to be honest, that's really not something that you should have to deal with or worry about. That should be for them to, figure out what's making them happy. No one can make you happy. You can't make anybody happy. You got to be happy within yourself. And, as I mentioned, if you believe in God, look to God for happiness. You also have to work at keeping yourself happy when you're around people like this. You have to work on pushing, pushing as much as, if you're a person that likes to push positivity and things, like, you have to worry about pushing as much as positivity as you can. And, I read an article of saying that, sometimes when people bring negativity, you double up on the positivity. And, you try to do that as much as you can, but sometimes that is hard. Sometimes it will affect you. We are human beings. I can say this because I am a human. I am one of those people. I push positivity, I push mental health, but there are some times that I could be affected by that too. Whether I'm affected in within 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, pushing the positivity, or whether I'm affected all day about it. It causes an affection. And negative positivity is infectious, but negativity is infectious too. And I also read an article that says, and I don't even know what the name of the article, so I'm not even gonna, but it says that our brain sometimes can, process and put out negativity easier than positivity. And I just, I wonder why that is. I don't know why that is. You know, I don't. And it's like, that's when, that's why they say, be intentional. Be intentional about putting out and think about the positivity. But yes, be intentional, but for the realism, you're a human being. You're a human being. And I am a person that I like I said, I push positivity. I push I push mental health and things like that, but I am also a human being. I am also a human being that, negativity affects me. Negative words sometimes affect me. So most of the time I can put it out of my head and put it out of my mind, but sometimes it affects me. And I feel like that's being real, and that's being human. Like, you know, and there are people that will bash some people for that. Well, you should do this, and you should just put out your mind, and you should just forgive this person, and or that person, or this, or just put it out. But as I go right back to what I said, you're human. I mean, sometime it may take you a day. Maybe yesterday what the person did or the people did around you or said to you or they were negative you, it didn't affect you last week. But this week you're tired of it. And then maybe tomorrow, you can move on from it. But the day after that, you're tired of it. And I feel like that is just being human. Like, like, do we have to take out the realism of being a human being? I mean, I really feel like, certain certain advice or like certain things or in society, like, kind of just because some things you just can't get over immediately. I feel like when you say, turn the other cheek and stuff like that. And yes, I believe in that. I believe in turn the other cheek. I believe in positivity. I believe in encouragement, but I also believe in being real. And I'm a realist. And I also believe in, saying, hey, this affects me. Like, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with saying, you know, this healing is going to take me a while, you know? Or what is wrong with saying, okay, I don't want to be around these people, or I don't want to be around this person because they're so negative, or they talk so negative, or they speak so negative, or they act so negative, or they have a negative attitude that I feel like affects me. And in order for me not to even slightly get affected, I may have to stay away from them. You know, if you feel like you can't not be affected by their negativity, then, what if you just have to say, okay, I just have to stay away from these people or stay away from this person or, not go here or not go there? Like, is that bad to say? Because you're human. Yes, you forgive people. Yes, you give them a chance, but you're also human. What if you're saying, okay, yes, I could put it out of my mind, but in order for me to not even be tempted to even think about it or be tempted, then I should just stay away from these people altogether because I feel like if I don't, I can't heal. Is some people that might be the situation for some people. And I don't feel like that's a bad thing because you're being human. In order for you not to lash out at the people or the person, in order for you not to, argue with them, or in order for you not to drink their negativity or drink their atmosphere that they're putting out, then some people just have to not be around them at all. Period. Completely. And I don't feel like that's a bad thing because you're putting yourself in them in a situation like, hey, let's just stay away. And then I don't have to accidentally be swept up in the tornado of negativity, and then it's going to turn, yourself as a negative person. But I think that it's being human. I really do. And this is just my perspective. Somebody else may have a different perspective. I'm a person that I'm a realist. I push positivity, like I say, but I'm a realist and I feel like as real human beings, we have feelings. Everybody have feelings. Men, women, whatever in between, pronouns, whatever, we have feelings. Even animals have feelings. That is how God made us. So, acting like they don't exist, I feel like is not really healthy. And then you can have conversations and decide maybe your feelings are valid or not. But at the end of the day, they're still your feelings. And they it should be part valid because they're your feelings, because something Something had to go on, something had to trigger you, feeling this way about people or a person that is around you that you have to deal with this with. You can't really say 100% of it is, in your head, or you just have these feelings. And I know there's some people that just don't like people at all, and they just don't like people, and they just, but, and, there's people that see the worst in everybody, but those technically mostly are the actual negative ones. And sometimes there's a group of negative people, and everybody just feed off of each other's negativity. And you just, you feel like you got to get away from all of them. But I feel like you're human. You're human, and you got the right to have feelings. And you got the right to talk about them. And you got the right to it to be acknowledged. Period. But I'm going to leave on this note. Be true to yourself. Keep your mental healthy. Don't feel bad about having feelings. Don't feel bad about being a human being. Don't feel bad or allow people to make you feel bad of what you're feeling, because the feeling is there. And yes, you can subscribe to it or not, but it's there. But keep your mental healthy. You heard it from me. Thank you. This was another penny for my thoughts.